Hello, this is Everton fan 77 with a little bit of a different video today. I know I do this quite often, say there's going to be a little bit of a different video today, but this is purely because I have not had the time to get together the gameplay for Pursuing the Career of Saint-Germain. That will be out tomorrow, or should be out tomorrow. Yeah, it's pretty likely it will be out tomorrow. Just because I haven't had enough time to get the gameplay together for today's episode or today's video. So basically to fill in for that, I'm just going to talk a bit about the quick news flash of Wayne Rooney. Basically, where will he go? What will happen to him? So Sir Alex Ferguson today did confirm that Wayne Rooney has handed in a transfer request to leave Manchester United. It's confirmed that he's handed it in, official reports. And yeah, that's quite surprising, I guess. Obviously, a few seasons ago, he wanted to go to Manchester City. There was that big debate whether he would go or not. He really wanted to go to Manchester City, but then that got resolved. I kind of thought that Wayne Rooney might stay on at Manchester United until the end of his career. Yeah, I was quite surprised to see him hand in the transfer request, even though he is back with his former manager David Moyes, who, let's say, they didn't get on that well at Everton. Well, it wasn't like it's not like they couldn't play in the same team or anything. They just couldn't operate with each other. There wasn't the strongest relationship, let's put it that way, between those two. So maybe that's a bit why. I'm not sure exactly why quite yet. It hasn't been confirmed. There's been reports that with Van Persie coming in, you've got Danny Welbeck and Javier Hernandez as well in the squad, that Wayne Rooney isn't completely satisfied with being Manchester United star man. These are just rumours, nothing confirmed. Everybody probably has a fair idea on what their theory is, but nothing has been confirmed, so I'm going through all the options which have been talked about. So with Van Persie's arrival, Rooney isn't that big target man, even though he wasn't always a target man, but he's not that star player up front anymore. Now, with David Moyes, as I also talked about, he's just come into the club. They haven't had the strongest relationship, and he probably wants to leave. And yeah, maybe he thinks as well with David Moyes, he wouldn't be able to do the same job at Man U as Sir Alex Ferguson has done. And yeah, maybe he just wants to move on to other things, add another attempt to win a title or something. Those are the reports so far. Nothing confirmed, as I said before. But where will he go? So the two main ones that have been talked about are Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester City. Two big clubs, two money-funded clubs who are very rich. So those are two potential options, but also probably the lesser options as well, Chelsea and Bayern Munich, and then on a very slight chance is Arsenal. So 5 clubs there who are interested, or who have some degree of interest in the signature of Wayne Rooney. Some might be a bit surprising. You've got 3 of Manchester United's rivals there, Chelsea, Man City and Arsenal, all there. Basically, they're all there in contention for Wayne Rooney. So if he is to stay in the Premier League and beat Alan Shearer's goal record, he's going to have to move to a rival club, which will cause a bit of debate in or not debate. He'll get a bit of hate from the Manchester United fans. No fan likes to see their player move to a rival club, so I can't see that would go down very well for Wayne Rooney. There was 2 other options, are 2 developing teams. Obviously, Bayern Munich has been a great team for a while, but they're kind of in a rebuilding phase, I guess. They made the Champions League final back in 2010, but other than that, they haven't. Obviously against Chelsea last season, but from about that point on, they've been trying to rebuild into the European superpower which they once were, and I think they've achieved that now. You just see with the 7-0 win over Barcelona, you could safely say Bayern Munich is the best club in the world. I think they are. And let's just see how they go in the final, because Dortmund will always be a strong opposition. But yeah, Wayne Rooney to Bayern Munich, that would be a great signing for them. Mario Gomez, who used to be their star man up front, has been basically replaced as the starting man by Mario Mandzukic. And yeah, it's whether they will have, whether they'll play Wayne Rooney just in behind the striker. It would mean that we would have to juggle up the formation a bit. Maybe Muller might get less game time. It's going to be quite interesting to see if he goes to Bayern Munich as well. So, kind of didn't really explain that very well, but basically what I'm trying to say is what will happen to Gomez, because either you've got to juggle up with your formation a bit, get rid of Muller, who's a fantastic player. I love Thomas Muller. Who could replace Muller or basically replace Mandzukic up front, which means Mandzukic would go to second place in contention for that starting lineup, and Gomez is just like, where? So quite surprising. I would be surprised if he goes to Bayern Munich. However, I don't think it would be such a bad move for him, but obviously as well, that would rule him out of contention, or not necessarily unless he goes back to the Premier League, but if he is to stay at Bayern Munich for a long period, that would rule him out of contention of taking over Alan Shearer's record. Now, the other option, which I mentioned earlier, Paris Saint-Germain, the other developing club I was talking about, and they haven't been a European superhouse like Bayern Munich have before. They've never been really up there like Bayern Munich have, but now with the financial backing they have, they are developing. They only lost to Barcelona on away goals rule, and even though that first leg they got an offside goal and a Valdez mistake, watching them play in that second leg, they could quite easily be in Champions League contention. They actually played quite well. I was really happy when Pastore got that goal, but then unfortunately Pedro scored to put it at 1-1. But yeah, nevertheless, Paris Saint-Germain, a developing club, and the move might suit Rooney as well. But you have Zlatan Ibrahimovic up front, who's your big target man. You might have to juggle up with the formation a bit as well to slot in Wayne Rooney. If you're going to put him in centre forward, I don't think striker's the right position for him. I think for any club he should play centre forward. I don't really like watching him play winger as well. Centre attacking mid, he doesn't play too bad, but he's not a winger for me. I hate to see him move to another club only to be put in the winger position, because he's not a winger. He's got too much not too much talent, I guess, but his qualities are too much like a striker, I guess. I can't really describe it, but his attributes would not suit a winger as they would centre forward or striker, because he's got great strength on the ball. He's like a bulldog, like Carlos Tevez, up and down the field, very fit, works really hard, and he's got a great finish on him as well, and he's very strong in the air if he can get onto a header, and he's also the acrobat as well in the box. Obviously, everyone remembers that great bicycle kick against Manchester City. If he would move to Paris Saint-Germain, it would be probably one of the least likely moves. But as I said before, you'd have to juggle up with your formation a bit. With Ibrahimovic up front, Rooney wouldn't replace him, and it would be surprising to see him go to the League One club. But anything can happen. Now, I just kind of browsed over the three other clubs in the Premier League, but I'll get into more depth now. Manchester City, who you'd probably have to say are the favourites to sign Wayne Rooney. They are arch rivals with Manchester United, and it would cause a lot of haste for Wayne Rooney's sake if he went to Manchester City. But that's probably where his future would look the brightest, because he can still take over Alan Shearer's Premier League record, although that probably actually doesn't mean too much to him as of now. But Rooney, he's not a selfish player or anything, but he's not. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe, but I think in the back of his mind, he would still want to overtake Alan Shearer's record, and I would just be plaguing in the back of his mind. But it's hard to tell. I can't make decisions on his behalf what he would be thinking. So this is just from my point of view. I think he'd still be somewhere in the back of his mind, be thinking about that record. So he might want to stay on in the Premier League, which is why Manchester City would be a good place for him to go. Putting aside all the fans hate you would get, all the Manchester United fan hate you would get for moving, it wouldn't be such a bad deal. But Manchester City have a lot of talent up front. They've got Dzeko, Tevez, and Aguero. So really would be in contention with them. You might have to play Rooney in that centre attacking midfield role, or you might have to sacrifice Tevez or Aguero to put Rooney into centre forward and have basically Tevez or Aguero up front. Probably Aguero, because Tevez is probably a bit better when he can sit back. Compared to Aguero, Aguero is probably a better striker, but Tevez would do a better job in that centre forward position purely because of his work rate. But basically, that's the move to Manchester City. You'd have to juggle up, not so much with your formation, but basically with the starting role. And where would this lie for Edin Dzeko? He's a fantastic player. Was a super sub for the first half of the season. Did a fantastic job off the bench. And I wonder where Edin Dzeko's future would lie. Shall Rooney go to Manchester City? So, moving on to the next club, we have Chelsea FC. I'm not so sure about this one. This would cause a lot of hate as well. And I'm pretty sure the Chelsea fans would not want Wayne Rooney there. I have some very good Chelsea mates, and they don't want Wayne Rooney to go to Chelsea purely because, probably Torres will go in this transfer window. If he does go, you got Wayne Rooney in that striker role. But Chelsea play with a lone striker, and Wayne Rooney, he's not a target man up front. He likes to sit in behind the striker. That's where he plays best. And a move to Chelsea, I'm not sure whether it would suit him or not. There are reports if he does go to Chelsea, he might play on that right wing or the left wing, depending on what side they want to play Hazard. And yeah, there are reports he could play on the wing. And as I said before, I do not think Wayne Rooney is a winger at all. His qualities are too much like a striker or centre forward to play on the wing. And yeah, I don't think he'd suit on the wing. And also, in that striker's position, you got Demba Ba, fantastic player. He's not recognised as one of the world's biggest stars, but he does a great job for Chelsea, and I'm sure they want to keep him there. Also, Romelu Lukaku, who's on loan to West Brom. What would happen to him? He would have to be loaned out for another season, or he wouldn't get too much game time if they have Rooney there. And also, the reports they could sign Cavani, or not so much Cavani anymore, but Radamel Falcao's always been around for a while. And if they sign Falcao, surely they couldn't sign Rooney as well, because that would just with Rooney and Falcao on the same team, they'd have to juggle up with the formation to fit both of those into your starting 11, and then that leaves Demba Ba on the bench, and then that just leaves Lukaku in no man's land, which is really disappointing because he needs to get some game time at Chelsea to grow some passion for his club as well. Because one thing as well is you keep loaning out your players until they start to reach the peak, and then when they're at the peak, you play them first, and you play them for your first team. They've spent so much time at other clubs. They haven't developed the passion at the club, which the other players have. And it would take quite a while until the senior years for them to develop that passion for the club. Even though Lukaku is a Chelsea supporter and he's always wanted to play for them, I'm not sure whether he'd be able to have that passion in later years if they sign Wayne Rooney and loan Lukaku out again. But that's just one thing as well I'm talking about. Now, the least likely option is Arsenal FC. Now, I just cannot see this move happening at all. Arsenal and Arsenal's. I've listed two of Manchester United's rivals before in Manchester City and Chelsea, but those two have only really become competitive with Manchester United in the 21st century, and Manchester City in the later years from 2008 onwards, and Chelsea from about 2002, 2003, that's probably when they got bought out, I think, and that's when they've just started to become competitive with Man U as well. So Arsenal, one of the more traditional rivals of Manchester United, and really, the more senior, the older fans of both clubs, the rivalry is stronger for Arsenal and Manchester United, for the older citizens of those clubs. Older citizens? What am I talking about? Older fans of those clubs. Than, say, the new modern derbies like the Manchester City and the Chelsea derby. For the older Man U fans, it's more been the Man U Liverpool derby and the Man U Arsenal derby, which has been more competitive and more at stake for those fans. But yes, anyway, as I'm talking about derbies, Rooney would get a lot of hate if he goes to Arsenal. He'd get a lot of hate for going to any of the clubs, but especially from Mr. Arsenal, from the more senior fans, Wayne Rooney. I just think he'd be abused so much. But anyway, moving on. How would he fit into Arsenal? He wouldn't, to be honest. For me, you've got Podolski, you can play in centre forward or on the wing, which is kind of what Rooney would do. You've got Giroud up front, who's one of your stronger target men. He's been pretty good this season. He's been, like, some people have labelled him a flop, but when you look at his stats, he hasn't been bad at all, and he's got goals. He scored goals at frequent rates. And yeah, he's got a decent goal tally, so I don't think they'd want to drop Giroud. But anyway, moving on. Wayne Rooney, where would you fit him in that front line? You've got so much talent for that front three. You've got the upcoming Oxlade-Chamberlain. You've got Gervinho, who on his day is actually a very good player. He gets trolled a lot for being a useless player, but on his day, he's a superb player. You've got Theo Walcott as well, who can also play in striker, and he's a very good striker as well when he plays there. You got Podolski, as I said before. You got Giroud, as I said before. I think I've probably forgotten some. I'm forgetting someone. Honestly, I'll remember it in time. But yeah, a lot of talent in that front three when Arsenal play with three up front. There's a lot of talent up there, and would Wayne Rooney fit into that front three? Is kind of that's what plagues me, because what would happen to some of the other players? Because you'd want to give Wayne Rooney game time because he's a star and everything. And also, one other thing is Arsene Wenger, it's not his style to buy superstars. Wayne Rooney is one of the world's biggest superstars, and Arsene Wenger, it's not like Arsene Wenger to go out there and buy a superstar. Everyone says he only buys juniors, but he does buy senior players when required, but he doesn't buy the big name players, and he actually makes some very good signings by doing so. So yeah, that's basically the five main options for Wayne Rooney's career. And yeah, this has been Everton Fan 77. Leave me in your opinion what will happen to Wayne Rooney in the coming future, and yeah, just leave a comment. And yeah, so this has been Everton Fan 77. I will return to FIFA gameplay tomorrow, and I will see you then.